We are here for our first ever tier list on the channel, and what better way to start than with some controversy. All over Twitter, I'm seeing the mate Lias Bouzidi. He was arguing with Ian Wright. He's getting cooked about who's better in their prime. Is it Van Persie? Is it Aguero? So I thought we're going to be doing top 50 all-time Prem strikers, going from 50th, 49, 48, all the way up until we get our 5 names on table 1, based purely on their best 2-year spell. So not longevity or what they achieved for their country, etc. Just their 2 years at a specific club, what they won, the goals, the ability, FA Cup, Carabao, Champions League, or Capital One, Milk Cup back in the day. So grab your popcorn. This could be chaos again. I can't please everyone, but I'm gonna do my best to give you guys a nice list. The disclaimer, I didn't pick these 50 players, I just found it online. So we're gonna start at the bottom because some of these guys belong on the Who Invited My Man tier. Ollie Watkins, get that guy off. Chicharito, big respect. He scored that nice goal with a little back header, but again, for a 2-year spell, you want a bagsman like that. Someone who I actually think is very underrated is Peter Crouch. Listen, top 50 is no slander whatsoever. I know I cook Watkins, I don't know why he's on here, but Crouch defo belongs up here. It's just that he was more of like a sustained career, but listen, ability for someone that lanky like a giraffe, incredible. But for a top 50, the guys above him are going to be having numbers upon numbers. Similarly, Giroud. You watch this guy's goal catalogue, with the amount of Puskas nominee goals this guy was scoring, you'd think he was prime Puskas himself back in 1958. For those of us who remember. I got that one in early. But next up, we have Solskjaer. Big respect, Fox in the box, but you were never the main guy at United to give us numbers. Likewise, I know many will be upset by this one, but unfortunately, through no fault of his own, Kanu has to be table 6. He still deserves a top 50 spot, but the guy would barely hit double digits for numbers. And unfortunately, for strikers, for a 2-year spell, if I'm being offered these guys, I need more than just rounding the keeper 5 times a season. But incredible player, even better human being, just not got the numbers to match the eye test. Next up, it's a cult hero. We got Demba Ba. That one season he went crazy, but that was more of like a duo link up, innit? It was always him and then Papi Cisse barking it off. But big respect to him. And another one, feed the yak and he will score. He was consistently up there for Everton, for Middlesbrough, Portsmouth, even Blackburn. But obviously he did love to miss an open goal every now and then. The last name on this list is James Beattie. This is someone that was one of my first ever shootout cards back in like 2004. Another one that was more of a consistent bagsman rather than having 2 incredible years. And obviously he wasn't fighting in the high pressure games for trophies. We move on to table 5, and the first name in that list is going to be Chris Sutton. Big respect for the 90s. But I was on Twitch and we're watching the tapes of all of his goals. We weren't really that moved, and again, 2 years, it's important to specify. Robbie Keane, I think, is unfortunate because he never quite got to play for a super team. He got his Liverpool move, but obviously that was when Liverpool were very, very meaty. And Spurs weren't ever going to do much, but I love this celebration. Primary school, I was in a little roly-poly and doing gunshots in year 5. The teachers were thinking, yo, who's this delinquent? But again, there's no shade in table 5. Louis Saha, another unfortunate one. Cause obviously, Fulham, he was the main guy. United, not so much, but you could still see the quality was there. And he was improving everyone around him. But obviously, when you got the likes of Rooney, Ronaldo, and these men, you're not going to be the one that's a top striker. Again, on stream, we sat there watching Dion Dublin footage, and this guy, I don't know how many headers he's got in his career, but he's got to be up there for Premier League numbers. Every single goal, header. But he has got a couple acrobatic finishes in the locker too. This one may be the hardest to rank. They've got Gabriel Jesus in the Man City kit. I think that first few months of Arsenal, Gabriel Jesus, he's fighting for the higher tables, I'll keep it real. But obviously it was only a few months. To be fair, the end of City, I think he was doing great in Champions League. Did they have that Real Madrid game? Was that within 2 years? I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, it has to be over a 2-year spell. We can't be doing 4 or 5 months. So he is going to hold a table 5 because the football he generated and that few months there wearing that pink kit and the black kit, I can't lie, guys were talking about him like he's the best player in the world for a bit. Another Brazilian joins Jesus there. We got Firmino. I know people might start panicking already, but again, in my opinion, if it's about 9s, he was playing up front, but the reason he started playing a bit more of a false 9 is because they said, you know what, you're not really a bagsman. He's not a great finisher if we're keeping it 100%. He was fantastic for facilitating Mane and Salah, but again, if I'm picking my team for 2 years, can I rely on you to put the ball in the back of the net? Not so much. Funny enough, I'm a player who's kind of underrated career-wise alongside Firmino is Dzeko. Career underrated. He had some crucial moments from Man City, Wolfsburg, Roma, whatever team he's been at. He's delivered big moments. But He was never the main guy at Man City. And the same can be said for the final two, because we got Sheringham, who had mad longevity playing till his 40s, but I want a guy for these 2-year spells to deliver me crazy numbers in the biggest moments. I know, again, Champions League final goal and that, but would you argue that's not even in his 2-year spell? One I feel bad for is Sturridge. I think without the injuries, he could be higher, because on ability and vibes, he had everyone doing the little dance thing, but it was just that 1 year, 13-14, where he really exploded, because the year before that and the year after that, he wasn't really getting numbers. We move on to table 4, the first name on the list. We're going to have big Romelu Lukaku. Look, 20 goals back-to-back is nothing to be scoffed at all. Obviously, he was playing for Everton. He was even called at West Brom when he still had the dreads. But they're just a little bit missing, and he wasn't really fighting for Champions League and stuff. I guess you could say the same for the next two names, though, because up next, we got Jermaine Defoe. Another one who, in terms of clinical finishing, he's up there. If it's just purely who's good at finishing, he's in one of the top 2 or 3 tables. But again, numbers-wise, you could argue Sunderland probably was his best era purely on stats. But again, we aren't stats merchants here. I'd argue Spurs, the first spell probably was his best time. And it's only right that we have Jermaine Defoe right next to his mate, Darren Bent. There were arguments in 2006, for those of us who remember, about who's going to go to the World Cup, who should get the spot. Theo Walcott got the spot. But Darren Bent doing what he did for Charlton is incredible. And again, he carried on Aston Villa, Sunderland. He was still bagging. This next one hurt because I love this player. But Good Johnson, as fantastic as you were, he was not a numbers guy. He's in, again, that kind of argument where he is a striker, but in a 2 formation where he's the secondary guy. He's facilitating Hasselbank and Drogba and these guys. Another elite technical baller, Dimitar Berbatov. A bit of a patchy striker, this one, because he had the golden boot 1 year, but even then in that season, you got a long spells where I'm like, is he going to bag? What's happening here? He'll go and bag a hat-trick. He'll go and bag 4 goals even, 5 goals. Again, crazy at Spurs and even at Fulham, but I think United really, surrounded by great players, elevated him even a bit more, but still, he wasn't the guy. We've got 2 current Newcastle ballers coming up. The first one is Isak. You may say it's too soon, but back-to-back years, 20 goals. They're talking about 100 mil, 120 mil. The numbers are finally backing up the eye test that we all knew he's had since even back in his Dortmund days. So he'll be joined by fellow Newcastle tsunami striker, Les Ferdinand. Not as techie as Isak, he's more of a fox in the box, poacher type guy that any kind of angle, he'll find a way if it's in that 18-yard box. Completing table 4, we've got 2 more sharp shooters. The first is Mark Viduka. You could probably say, yeah, Leeds probably is his best time. The amount of shot power this guy would generate from his foot is unbelievable. But obviously, again, them times, high-pressure games, Leeds aren't really fighting for anything other than staying up. Similarly, Kevin Phillips. The numbers this guy put on the board are enough to get him table 4. He may not be the techiest on this list, but his instinct for goal, he has to be up there. On to table 3. Now's where it gets a bit controversial, because the guy I'm going to put, many would say should be higher, but hear me out. Michael Owen. I understand, before you start shouting, Ballon d'Or this, Ballon d'Or that, like, I get it. But, purely on like a numbers perspective, his Ballon d'Or was for hitting 16 goals. He hasn't had a single season in his career with 20 Prem goals. I understand it's not all about goals. However, there are going to be players on this list that combine 20 goal seasons with the ability and the eye test as well as trophies to go with it. So big respect to him, but I'm not giving him credit for doing something when he was mad young. I want 2 consecutive years where you're going crazy, or at least 1 super elite year and then you can fall off a little bit. Because if we're going to use like a Ballon d'Or argument, then cool. Let's start giving Ballon d'Or to like Wissa, who got more than 16 goals, Chris Wood, and Burma, all these men got more than 16. Elite finisher though. So again, it's not just about the numbers. Up next we have Diego Costa. A serial bully when he arrived. The only thing letting him down, again, look, obviously, again, it's more like a 1 great season and like another good season, but he's in that kind of limbo era where you don't have the elite centre-backs like Rio Ferdinand and John Terry and Sol Campbell and these men, and you aren't facing like Van Dijk and the last few years, guys. You're in that limbo period where everyone, you can just slap their head and get away with it. Well, apart from Rob Holding, who slapped his head back. Speaking of Arsenal, we've got 2 Arsenal strikers next up. First up, we got Ian Wright. This one, left foot, right foot, even header for someone of his size. He can chip it, he can bang it long range. He also arrived late in his career and was just bagging goals upon goals upon goals. And although he held that record for most Arsenal goals until Henry arrived, another Arsenal record that was shattered is Amenyah with the fastest to reach 50 Premier League goals. I think was how things turned out at the end of his Arsenal spell, and Chelsea was a bit meaty as well. Guys forget what this guy was doing. He was a 20 goal year in, year out, year in, year out. Some would argue if it wasn't for him, Arteta may not be in a job right now, because he pretty much put that team on his back for the FA Cup. So he's 20th, and in 19th, we've got Dwight York. Obviously part of the incredible duo. We'll speak about his mate soon enough. No matter where he went, he was bagging goals. If you were there, you'd get it. But he was more of like the sidekick. And again, it's not an insult because you are top 20 all time. Ahead of him, we have Carlos Tevez, one of my favourite footballers. Obviously, there's conversations about whether he was better at Juve and whatnot. But since we're sticking to just their Prem time, you could go from the end of West Ham to United, but obviously I'm gonna go City couple years. He was delivering numbers, he had the intangibles of the work rate, he had the on-the-ball skills, crazy dribbling, all types of goals from all ranges. This is the kind of player that I'd want in my team. In 17th, a serial gunman, someone who sadly peaked early, Robbie Fowler. We spoke about Owen before. Robbie Fowler came in and he was bringing numbers immediately. Over 20s. Another one who, if it was just an all-time finishers list, would be higher. But the next name might shock you. It's another Liverpool player. His name is Amenyah. I know what you're thinking. I'm here to tell you, KSI, you owe this guy an apology. I know you said sorry already, but your next YouTube video should be opening Amenyah all Liverpool goals compilation and reacting to it, so that guys can see what he was on. Because people thought I was trolling. I pulled up the tapes of every Liverpool goal he scored on stream earlier. We sat there like, whoa. This guy was smashing shots, top bins outside the box, bullet headers, left foot, right foot. And that's not even mentioning the fact that most of his game was just boom. 4-4-2, knock it to the big man, flick it onto Owen, he runs on and scores. Cold celebration tax as well added to it. But I implore you, go to YouTube and watch Amenyah tapes and then come back and say, you know what, actually, I kind of hear where you're coming from. The last name on table 3, this one hurts me. I wish you could go higher, but there's no space. Nicolas Anelka. Incredible at Bolton. Incredible at Arsenal. Even a nice player at Liverpool. But I think playing for Chelsea, again, in a team that was proper men and fighting for titles again, elevated him even further. And that link up with Drogba, that two-man step was nasty. One of the most natural finishers ever to play the game. I think Anelka gets underrated again, like another man that will be on this list, because he's not really loved by any team. Maybe Chelsea, but in general, he leaves. It's a bit sour. So there's no one on Twitter hyping him up. The opposite can be said for our first name on table 2. In 14th, Fernando Torres. 07-08, 24 goals. Incredible. He lit up the Premier League that first season, and we were thinking, raw, Liverpool might be a serious team again. Because again, they had never won the Premier League before at that time. So I think everyone, no matter what team you supported, loved Torres back in the day. Now's where it gets interesting, because the next name has the complete opposite story surrounding him. We've got Adebayor. Now, I want to clarify, again, I don't know why he's in a City kit here. It should be Arsenal Adebayor, that same season, 07-08, and the next one. What I find fascinating is, again, because he left these teams on such bad terms, no one props him. But we watched a compilation of all his goals, 07-08, he scored the same amount of Torres, but near on every single goal was a banger. He's chesting it and volleying it versus Spurs. He's chesting it and volleying it versus Newcastle. He's beating 2-3 man. He's running past them. Him and Torres are a similar level, but Adebayor, for someone of his height, was a lot silkier. So I've edged it just towards him. I know Arsenal fans cry about that celebration, but again, if the fans are chatting about your family, you have every right to knee slide and do whatever you want. Prime for prime, that 2 years, Adebayor was phenomenal. Another elite gunman. I mean, everyone here is a gunman now, our top 2 tables, but Jimmy Floyd, my broski. Met him as well, of course, as you guys have known. I speak about it all the time. I show the pictures all the time. This is an elite gunman. Someone who arrived from Portugal, just started bagging 20 goals, 20 goals, 20 goals. He went to Atleti for a year. I'm not going to count that, but he went to Atleti, bagged like 24 goals, came back to England, 20, 20, 20. The greatest shot power I think we'll ever see. And again, I implore you, before shouting at me, watch the footage. Just type in, I know just looking at goals doesn't help you because you got to watch full 90s and that. But again, like, we were there. For those of you who weren't there, just type in Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, all Chelsea goals, right? Just his first 2 seasons. For the first 3 or 4 minutes. The opponents, he scores in the Community Shield. He goes to Old Trafford, he bags. Arsenal, he bags. Liverpool, he bags. He goes to Highbury, he bags. Like, every big team, because back then it was a top 4, right? He was scoring and scoring and scoring. Again, Free kicks, 30 yards. Volleys, 25 yards. Headers, whatever you want, he had it. And of course, we had to factor in the cold aura celebrations as well. He had that on lock. Now I'm going to get tomatoes thrown at me, but I don't care. The next name on the list, Luis Suarez. Why have I put Luis Suarez in table 2? Very straightforward. You go to his opponents, that 13-14 season that everyone goes crazy about. The top 4 was, well, Liverpool were, I believe, second, and it was completed by City, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Not one goal via his opponents. You go through, start counting. Norwich, 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 Fulham, Fulham, QPR, Sunderland, Norwich, Norwich, West Brom. I can't have, if I'm picking for 2 years, someone that is just scoring and stat padding against these meaty teams and is nowhere to be seen when the light shine brightest. And furthermore, if that's not enough for you guys, if I'm paying money for these guys for 2 years, how can I pick someone that I'm not guaranteed to get 38 games from? He might decide to be racist to someone. He might start biting people's shoulders. That's an unreliable player right there. So well done to scoring all those goals with relegation fodder. Table 2, that's fantastic. We move on. Jamie Vardy. You speak about, oh, he was playing for Liverpool, he couldn't win trophies. Jamie Vardy was playing for Leicester. And he went and did, it's 11, it's heaven for Jamie Vardy. Delivered them a title. So I don't want to hear any excuses. There's only one man on this list in the top 10 that's allowed an excuse for not getting any Premier League trophies. And I think you all know who that is. Vardy is the 10th guy on our list. I can rely on him to lead the front line even by himself if everyone's not on it. Consistent, hungry, determined, that's what I want. The next 2 names are both United. I had difficulties picking which one could go above each one, but I've gone with Andy Cole in 9th and Van Nistelrooy in 8th. Tough one, really, because Andy... do you know what? Now, the more I look at it, I'm going to make an executive change. I'm going Andy Cole 8th, Van Nistelrooy 9th. I just think what Andy Cole was doing without penalties is still kind of getting slept on to this day. I know more and more people are speaking about how he's underrated, but he was more of a team player as well, because Van Nistelrooy, there's countless stories of... Obviously, he beat Henry to the Golden Boot one time when Henry was giving other guys penalties just to have a laugh. Van Nistelrooy was so focused on that Golden Boot. He'd be asking every game, yo, did my man score? Did my man score? I'm taking pens, I'm doing this. Kind of selfish. But again, he's top 10 because your striker kind of needs to be selfish. He's not aesthetically pleasing. He runs like Wreck-It Ralph, but he gives you goals upon goals. I have 2 names left for table 2. The next one, like I said, for table 1, it is exclusive VIP only. And by VIP, I mean no trophy, no entry. So sadly, Harry Kane is going to be in 7th. We're going to go, what, 2016, 2017 times. Phenomenal baller. There's not a lot you can say about weaknesses other than maybe, yeah, he's not the quickest. He's not like a great dribbler, that kind of stuff. But pure finishing, he's up there. However, we haven't seen you deliver that when the light shine brightest and your team requires you to... Because people say, oh, but what about the team? What about the team? But go look at the Poch team. They tell me that's like an incredible all-timer team that was so unlucky. If you showed up on the brightest of lights, like some of these other players, you'd have at least one Spurs trophy to your name. Which brings us to our last name that's not going to make table 1. We sat there for time, and it's kind of a full circle, because I said at the start of the video that the argument that Lies was having with Ian Wright was about Van Persie and Aguero. I've gone back and forth, back and forth. Initially, I started against Lies. Then I heard him out a little bit. But then I was like, you know what? Aguero scores in every single big game by force. United, he'll crash at roof of your net. Arsenal, he'll crash at roof of your net. Petr Cech specifically for Chelsea, he'll hit you at your near post. He's just bagging. Van Persie, his last year at Arsenal, 30 goals, insane carry job. Went to United, again, kind of carried that team to a Prem title. So, it's difficult. Neither of them really barked it off in the Champions League. I'm not going to bring internationals into it, but either way, they're both not great internationally. But I think at the end of the day, I've ended up going back onto Lies' side. I think someone said it to me in the chat earlier. The Arsenal team that Van Persie was carrying, with the likes of, you see in the image here, Javinho there. I can't look past that. I do think Aguero's being heavily underrated. And look, I don't think you're crazy for having either one in either side. Aguero is the better finisher. Maybe a few more injuries. But again, that's kind of harsh because Van Persie's whole career is basically him being injured. Bar that 2 years where he somehow was like a cyborg from Teen Titan, just refusing to go down. So I'm going to go Aguero 6th, which means the first name in top 5 is going to be Van Persie. But again, look, I don't mind you putting them either way. I don't think you should be cooked for having an opinion either way. But in 4th, I'm going Alan Shearer. Word to that video. They asked him, what did the brother say? Alan Shearer, Alan Shearer. Mr. Bark it off. Headers, volleys, long shots, penalties at 100 miles per hour for no reason. Won Blackburn a league title. Again, I don't want to hear excuses. Obviously, he went on to Newcastle and was incredible for like 10 years. But I reiterate, go and watch the tapes if you're unfamiliar with Alan Shearer. On to the podium places. I know you guys see Rooney, Zola, Cantona, Bergkamp. Someone put them on the list, and I am not putting them on. I think they are more either 10s or support strikers. You know what I mean? I'm not going to put them in shadow strikers. So 3 names left: Henry, Haaland, and Drogba. In 3rd place, Erling Braut Haaland. Obviously, look, the records speak for themselves, right? Golden boots, immediately tore up the Premier League. Again, it's no insult to be 3rd. I know numbers-wise he's the best, but as always, we have to use a bit more context and look beyond the numbers, because they won the treble. Did he play a massive part in the Champions League? No. In the Cups? Not really. But obviously numbers in the league got them that title. So you cannot argue with that. He deserves to be there, because it seems like no matter what system you put him in, he's going to get you goals. However, this should come as no spoiler to anyone. Maybe some of you are shocked that he's still on the list waiting to be added. But I have gone in 2nd, Didier Drogba. Many of you are going to be yelling, what is he doing on table 1? Hear me out. I know he's had many seasons of like 8 goals, 10 goals. In an all-time list, he has no business being on table 1. But for those 2 years, from like 09 to 2011, complete striker. We're talking numbers. He had that. Eye test, he had that. Trophies, he had that. Free kicks, penalties, headers, left foot, right foot, volley, in the box, out the box. And the reason why I've edged it just over Haaland as well is because even Drogba's 2nd year, where you might say, oh, he wasn't bagging 30 goals that year, he had more assists than goals. He was bringing others into play, because again, you have to remember, he had like Anelka with him then times. He had Malouda, he had Lampard, who was still bagging 15, 20 a season. But guys see Drogba's pure goal stats and say, nope, not good enough. And of course, the one thing that we have to mention, if I'm offered 2-year contracts, these guys at their best, I take Drogba, because not only am I going to get those 25, 30 goals and 15, 20 assists in those seasons, because I know he's going to be good, I'm getting a big game machine as well, who will win me the FA Cup, who will win me the Champions League, and hopefully the League and the Carabao as well. But with all that being said, I think it goes without saying, any list that does not have Henry first is a shambles. Be it the 24 goals, 20 assist season that is still yet to be replicated, be it him bagging 30 goals, him single-handedly, I think he's got like 54% of their goals in the Invincible season were Henry. That is an insane carry job. In Champions League, he was turning up. Again, they didn't win it, of course, so fair enough, but leagues, he was winning that. FA Cups, he was there. I think this is the best list possible. Of course, fans of other teams are going to say, oh, he should be up 1, he should be up 2, but hear me out. If you disagree, please argue politely. Don't just call me an idiot or a clown or get your facts right, buddy, because again, it's just my opinion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like on the video if you did. If you want more tier lists, I got plenty of them coming your way, so just subscribe. We're on the way to that 100k plaque. We've hit 28k today, so thank you very much. We keep on going and going and going with the daily videos, and maybe by the end of the season, who knows, we might hit the 100k. Have a great rest of your weekend. In a bit. Bosh.